What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster here on this Sunday, end of the weekend, February 5th, 2023. It's about 12:33 p.m. here in the afternoon on the West Coast in California. Got a chance of thunderstorms out here today. Nothing big, but a little bit of active weather out here in California. Latest quake continues to show some movement out here around the western Turkey area and also the Mediterranean region with an uptick in activity overnight. The latest quake, though, a 2.6 earthquake showing up there on the globe. All right, let's go ahead and back it out here a little bit and see what we got on the larger scale of things. Still seeing some activity down here around the Fiji area. Of course, a lot of shallower earthquake activity here yesterday along the Tonga Trench that has allowed for some adjustment at the deeper regions, with the latest quake of 4.5 way down there, about 569 kilometers deep, into a portion of the Tonga Trench here. Now that's south of Fiji. 4.5, pretty deep earthquake. With this type of movement bouncing back and forth as we've seen here the past couple days, still want to watch some areas to the west, obviously with our westward plate movement here. That includes the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu area. I still think there may be enough built-up pressure here to see something a little bit on the larger size around the Solomon Islands region, so we'll continue to watch that. Also, of course, the New Zealand area down here has seen adjustment over the past couple days as well. Let's go over here and check out the earthquake map here from New Zealand. Make sure we got the most recent map here. Bring up the earthquake map. Those were the drums. Bringing the all magnitudes up here. Looks like a couple smaller quakes within the last couple hours. There's a 2.9. That's got to be right on the Alpine Fault there, South Island, New Zealand. And a couple other smaller quakes overnight. Doesn't look like we've seen any major uptick overnight, but definitely want to keep an eye on things. No major swarms popping off that I can tell in the regions of the seismographs. As well as the volcano drums out there. Let's give a quick glance of that. Let's see what we have. Not really seeing any major activity. Today looks a lot calmer here across the New Zealand area for now. Again, still watch that though with this bouncing back and forth of activity. Australia did see that earthquake yesterday, a 4.5 late afternoon time period. Nothing else showing up there for now. Regions of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands area. A little bit of activity coming in yesterday and after midnight. Got a 4.7 up here around the Philippines, 13 kilometers deep, and some deeper activity, the most recent quake here in the Banda Sea region. Now, those are all going to be 4.0 and above. A look at some of the smaller quakes here in the globe, some threes. A couple threes out here, it looks like, in the region. Also the Java Trench over here showing a little bit of activity. But really nothing as far as that westward pressure movement goes. About the southern end of the Java Trench northward around this plate boundary. All very quiet for now. We definitely need to watch these zones that are been quiet here recently. 2.6 up around the Himalaya area. Aside from that, this area is clear and open of earthquake activity in the last 24 hours. Not a whole lot going on. Mediterranean region and the Turkey area, of course, quite a few twos and threes up here. That latest quake, let's see exactly where that's at, near the coast of western Turkey, 2.6 at 2 kilometers deep. Further up north, off the coast here, into the Izu Trench, we did see that 5.8. See a little bit of aftershock activity. Up here on the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, and this area right here is... It's got to be primed here in terms of the amount of stress that builds up here. The slip rate is incredible along this section of the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is the plate boundary out here. Let me bring up the general plate movement and show you guys here real quick. I try to talk about it on occasion when we get areas such as this becoming quiet. If you look at the map here, this is that same plate boundary. With the Pacific plate, and you got the portion of the North American plate here, all kind of squeezing together along that Kuril-Kamchatka Trench and the Japan Trench. Although I don't know if the Japan Trench has enough built-up strain to produce any large size earthquake. They always seem to get some, but I think this area north here along the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench has the most potential of seeing something at least above a 7-pointer in this region. Look at all the stress that's being put behind it from the Eurasia plate. You got the western, northwestern portion of the Pacific plate. These arrows here all pointing towards a squeeze zone, so to speak. But these two arrows right here that are kind of facing each other means that this is a subduction zone. So that's a trench, Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, one of the most active regions in the world for earthquake activity, and they have been quiet. Not even joking. So we know the activity is there. And this earthquake struck pretty much right smack dab in that zone where I expect a larger earthquake to occur. Who knows when? Could be today, could be in the next couple weeks. But this 4.5 coming in 48 kilometers deep right there into the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. So we'll just continue to watch that. It's definitely one of the top regions that I'm watching here for some larger scale activity. Up here, of course, on the northern end of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, we did see this 4.8 kick up following this 5.8. So a little bit of adjustment first down here, and then rightfully so up here on the northern end with overnight activity just about here in the middle point between these two areas. But man, gotta watch that. That's going to be I think that's going to be a big one once that goes. Okay, the Alaska area, a couple 2s overnight, looks like, even a 3.2 near the Pedro Bay area of Alaska. It's going to be over here around the Cook Inlet area. This region's seen quite a bit of uptick here over the past couple days around the Cook Inlet area, north towards Denali. But got to remember what's down here. That's the subduction zone. North American Plate and the Pacific Plate boundary. I'll bring this up right here. You guys can kind of see what's taking place. Movement from the North American Plate headed south, right, with the arrows. Excuse me. Hopefully I can make it through this update here. Voice is kind of off here this morning. But notice that there's not, for the most part, the arrows are not directly up here along this region. This is definitely a subduction zone, but not as much as these areas to the west and northwest here. Those are some of the prime spots, the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, that builds up the most highest slip rate in a year. Obviously, subduction zone here off the coast into the Aleutian Trench is high as well, but again, not at that direct point. So a little bit of activity kicking up there overnight in the past couple days. Not a whole lot through the Pacific Northwest today. One earthquake around Mount Rainier looks like a little 0.8, and I'm pretty certain the majority of these here are from yesterday. Nothing so far overnight. Northern California, about the same. Things are mellowing out here. 1.8 near Rio Vista. That's around the Delta, south of Vacaville. Little earthquake out there. And generally light movement across the Sierra Nevada. Not a whole lot popping off around the Ridgecrest today or in the Southern California area. Most of this movement, if not all of it, all small microquake activity. Nothing above 2.5. A little bit of activity here in the last hour, 1.3 near the Anza area. And also down here, I wonder if this was here last night. Some of it was. Actually, it looks like most of it was. This is just off the Brawley seismic zone. A couple small earthquakes in the mid around 1.5 or so. That is just shy of the San Andreas Fault that sits up here to the north. No major swarms, though, taking place currently in the Southern California area. And south of the border, a little bit of uptick here in the 2s overnight, late last night, actually. Over here around the Mina, Nevada area, things rocking and rolling a little bit. Out in the desert, latest one shows a 1.9. Pretty shallow earthquake. I was out here a couple years ago when they had that 6-pointer. I was looking for some surface fractures didn't really see any. But there's a lot of interesting stuff if you take all these back roads out here. Some ghost towns around the Candelaria Hills, a lot of mining areas, and all sorts of weird stuff you'll see out there in the desert. Quite an interesting trip. Wyoming, not a whole lot popping off up here. At least nothing showing up. Let's check out the Yellowstone overview real quick and see what we have cracking up here, which doesn't look like there's much, if anything, at all. Maple Creek, I'm guessing these are going to be the way it looks here. There's a little bit of earthquake activity. If you look, these red spikes are all a signature of a very small quake, but it kind of looks like there's some wind events going on up there as well. Let me check the windy map and see what we got, which is, by the way, a very useful source of weather data up into Wyoming. There's definitely quite a bit here through central Wyoming, right around the Yellowstone area, getting some gusts and some wind up there around 20-30 miles an hour or so. So that could play a part on some of the seismograph stations, showing some of that just a little bit more spikier than normal type of view there. All right, let's see. Let's move on here. One earthquake in Texas here around Midland again. This area has shown a little bit of activity over the last week or so, and the majority of these activity, or these earthquakes, I should say, are positioned out into the massive oil fields out here. You know, I'm sure a lot of folks are getting tired of hearing it, but this is only going to get more common and potentially larger in the quake department as the weeks and months and years go on. There's quite a bit of oil pumping operations out here. Where this 2.4 struck. There's literally one within about probably, what's that going to be on the scale? This is 500 feet, so maybe, yeah, definitely less than that. And again, there's a lot of wastewater ponds out here. Those are not swimming pools, but you know, back out to get a better view of what's going on out here, folks. There's a lot. I remember seeing these all the time when I was flying over to do some storm chasing out in Texas in the springtime, which is coming up. Pretty interesting view. You can see those for many, many miles. All right, Oklahoma. Latest shows a 1.9 outside of Enid near the Hennessy area. Looks like in the Hennessy oil and gas fields. There you go. Quite a bit of them up here as well. There's a windmill. Surprisingly, you got windmills amongst all the gas and oil fields. Crazy, huh? But yeah, definitely within the vicinity of some of these pumping operations and whatnot out there. Eastern portion of the country, one earthquake way down here around the Georgia area, 1.6. And I hardly doubt if we got any oil fields out here. But a lot of times when we see these oil fields get hit, that's a sign of, you know, plate stress out here. And there's always stress going on around the plates, not only at the plate boundaries, but, you know, all that pressure kind of gets moved in and stressed in other areas. You get uplifting of certain regions, creating mountains. And a lot of times we'll see activity kick up here around the New Madrid seismic zone and areas here to the east when we see these oil fields get hit first. That's kind of what's going on out there right now. But yeah, out here probably not going to see any of that going on. This is, but who knows? I mean, there's a lot of vegetation out here. It's really hard to tell exactly what's going on. All this area here looks like some nice lakefront property. I think that's a lake or stream or little river out there. Not too familiar with Georgia. In fact, I can't even say I've ever been out there. That's one area of the country here I need to visit pretty soon. I'm a big fan of the greenery and the mountains. Bugs and the humidity don't scare me. Neither does the weather. But I want to check out the Smoky Mountains, the Appalachian Mountains here, and areas of the south. That's going to be, I think that's going to happen here soon. I think we'll make that happen. All right. Let's see what else we have. Caribbean plate. Notice things are starting to mellow out across the area of the subduction zones, right? Over the last week or so, we've seen an uptick. We could probably go 7.5 or 7 days, 2.5 and above. Don't want a 7.5 out here, goodness. 5.0, Dominican Republic here a day or so ago. St. John seen a 5.0. And prior to that, there was a 6-pointer back here earlier in December or January, 6.1. That one coming in earlier last month. But all this activity that's spread out kind of ramped up when we've seen the swarming out here around Puerto Rico stop. But it looks like that is coming back today and overnight. So we should see the return of normal earthquake activity out here. And by normal, I mean the swarming with less activity across the subduction zones. It just seems to be that way. Seems to be a little pattern there across the Puerto Rico area and the Caribbean plate on this side when that swarm's active compared to when it's not. All right, Middle America Trench 4.5. Let's see what's going on here on the EMSC model within that region. Yeah, just that one earthquake, 4.5. A little bit of activity coming in south here around the Costa Rica area, it looks like. A couple 2s and some 3s. South America region, most of the activity here late last night. We did have one further 4.7 early in the morning. That one pretty deep into the Peru-Chile Trench. 179 kilometers for that earthquake right here. Underneath the San Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina region. South Pacific Ocean, pretty quiet now. One thing we really haven't seen in a while is the East Pacific rise kick up. In fact, a lot of the divergent boundaries have been very quiet, and that's pretty much where you see the fractures out there in the oceanic crust, right? The separation of the seafloor, not in terms of, automatic, just, that wouldn't be good. If we had a huge crack out here in the ocean, that would, that'd be like a bad worst case scenario. But, fault systems out here, they're very common in these divergent boundaries, and they're very slow. We don't normally get huge earthquakes out here, but it's all the process of recycling, the earth recycling and creating new land and pushing these plates around. It's a very active world that we live on, and that's good because otherwise we wouldn't have all these mountains and all these other features that we see out here. All right, let's see. I think that's about it in terms of earthquake activity. Let me see if we're missing anything dramatic out here. 3.9 into the Japan area. USGS not going to show that, but let's see. With the way activity has been recently, a definite increase in activity up here north, Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. Might want to watch this here for some further activity. All right. See what else we got here. Volcano hazards. I don't think we got any new volcanoes added to the list. As far as the monitoring goes, everything looks about the same in terms of the alert process here. What do we got up here in the yellow? A couple of volcanoes here in the orange. But they've been that way for a little while. I don't think we've seen any major changes at these specific volcanoes, and none at the Big Island. Everything appears to be continuing as it's supposed to there on the Big Island. No major updates there across the HVO. Looks like Kilauea Volcano doing their daily updates. The latest one put out from yesterday, and it's going to continue to read the same thing as long as the eruption is continuing. All recent eruptive activity has been confined to the crater. No significant changes have been observed at the summit or in either rift zone. Either. However, right? I'll probably hear from that one. It's either. Potatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. You get it right. Creeks, cricks. All depends. And sometimes I'll make up my own pronunciation of a word. All right, let's see what else we got. Space weather activity here. We did have a little bit of upper sea flare activity yesterday. A couple different ones popping up here onto the GOES X-ray flux chart. A couple upper sea flares. The last one, C6.4, nothing big at all, but it could be a sign of some increasing activity, and I can kind of see it out here on the northeastern limb. There's a little flare popping off currently as we speak. Not a big one, but it looks like it's a very active region coming around the bend, y'all. Let me see what we got here. Can't really see it on this one yet. This is an older image from last night. Got to go to the most recent imagery, and this is going to be that spot right here. Notice it's hard to tell right now, but there's a couple other spots behind here, orange, yellow, green, potentially getting in on some mixing there, very closeness of the polarities of that sunspot. So that could be an active region. These other ones are just not looking favorable for any activity. But definitely that one on the far side, northeastern section of the sun, we'll keep an eye on that as it rotates into view, and maybe, just maybe, it will be a nice active region and provide quite a few flares in a few days or so, because space weather's been kind of dull in terms of active space weather. No major aurora events currently. Everything looks fairly calm across the higher latitudes there. Weather activity on the west coast here. We got, as I mentioned, a little bit of rain. Potential for some thunderstorms here today, but not looking all that impressive. Here's the NAM 3KM model. Notice up north here, just north of the Chico area, a couple cells maybe developing, but that's about it. I mean, just not a whole lot expected from this low pressure system. Let's go back here and see what we got for long distance viewing. Well, we can check out this one. This will work. Looks like our next storm system will be a ways out. Not a whole lot of potential. More severe weather looks like around Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma, down in Louisiana. Let's see, where did my storm prediction center go? Thought I had Strom. Oh yeah, it's gonna be one of those days. I'm telling you. I just wanted to see what the outlooks look like for now. The only active regions look like maybe in Florida and here in California. This is just going to be very marginal. Not even marginal, just a slight risk of thunderstorm activity. Really no tornado, hail, wind, nothing going on as far as any severe weather activity goes today. Just got some cold temperatures aloft, but not a whole lot of instability. The sun's really not heating things up out there, so I don't think we're going to see any major activity across the region of Northern California. And that is also viewable here on the thunderstorm with the Cape values out here. These are just the general Cape as we look at what do we got here? Stand by for a second. There we go. I'll put this into the later afternoon time period, and there's definitely not. Maybe looks like here around 2 p.m., but that's like right in an hour or so. The highest regions here, maybe around Red Bluff, could see a little bit of activity, but sometimes I don't even like looking at it because it never really comes true when it comes to the severe weather out here in California. Occasionally we get some nice storms, and a couple years ago I caught the first tornado of the year. First tornado of the year across the states here in Northern California. Check it out. It's up there on my channel. Caught that just north of Chico. It was actually a couple years ago in January. Right about where was I? It was just off 99 out Chico, I was north here. I believe it was out in this area, north of, around the Vina area. It's pretty cool, pretty photogenic. Go check it out here on the channel. All right, guys. I think that's about it. Have a good day. Stay safe out there. Gonna get some schoolwork done before Monday. Tomorrow already. Got a lot due coming up this week again. Spring semester always seems busier than the fall semester for some reason. I don't know why, but it's looking definitely looking that way again this year. We'll catch you guys a little bit later back here tonight with a complete update. And here in 10 days, of course, we got our another member drawing coming up here on the 15th of February, so get in on that. And we'll continue that as we move forward, of course. We'll catch you guys a little bit later on tonight. Have a good one.